research has to say about phonics and word decoding by Allison Barnes and Jason Leggett.
Through this presentation, you will learn lots of information about these buzzwords, as well as various beliefs, approaches, and resources.
The term phonics is a really popular buzzword in the education community. It is a subject that can be a little difficult to talk about because people are so unsure about it.
There are so many different ways to teach it that from one district to the next, it could look and sound completely different. There are also lots of different language arts curriculum that target phonics, so it really comes down to how does the district want it to be taught.
Another question about phonics is what is it supposed to be like across different grade levels? Well, hopefully by the end of this podcast, you will have an answer to that question.
Phonics is the connection that letters have to sounds. It is a method for teaching students to spell and to read words. English is a difficult language to learn because it is made up of 42 phonemes or sounds, but only 26 letters of the alphabet.
Words are made up of syllables, onsets, and rhymes. These are the building blocks. A syllable is a unit of pronunciation having one vowel sound with or without surrounding consonants that form either the whole or part of the word. For example, the word water has 2 syllables.
The onset is the initial part of the word that usually has a consonant or a consonant blend. The rhyme consists of the vowel and any remaining consonants. When syllables, onsets, and rhymes are learned and put together, they form words. Learning these parts of words will help a student with word decoding.
Word decoding is how a student figures out unknown words. More specifically, students use visual, syntactic, or semantic cues to figure out words and their meanings.
There are many beliefs about phonics and decoding. One is that quick and accurate reading leads to better comprehension. This means that the faster a story can be read, the better a student can gain meaning from it, because it is read so quickly and less details are forgotten. Another belief is that the more words you know, the greater the understanding you will have of the text. A person can read a text quickly, but also inaccurately. The second belief is all about knowing words and what they mean to gain a deeper understanding of what the text is all about.
Another belief is that reading the whole text first and then going back and checking phonics problems is best. This would give a student multiple looks at the same book. This basically has the student read the book for what meaning they can get out of it, and then go back and clear up any phonics problems to change or get a deeper understanding. Then there is the whole language movement. This is a method for teaching children to read by recognizing words as whole pieces of language. This means that language should not be broken down into letters and combinations of letters. Instead, it is a complete system of making meaning with words functioning in relation to each other in context.
Phonological awareness is another belief about the best way to teach phonics. This is the ability to hear sounds that make up words. This includes recognizing words families, words that rhyme, beginning and ending sounds, using sounds to create new words, and separating words into individual sounds.
There are many approaches to teaching these reading skills. There's a traditional route and a contemporary route. Traditionally, there are analytics, linguistics, synthetics, and direct instruction. Analytics begins with a word the child already knows and then breaks it down into its component parts. Linguistics are learned patterns and words such as word families and rhymes. Synthetics teach children individual letters or groups of letters, followed by showing them how to blend them to form words. Finally, direct instruction approaches are highly scripted and structured.
For contemporary approaches, there are spelling-based, analogy-based, and embedded phonics. An example of a spelling-based approach would be a word studies that allow students to check out words and patterns through sorting and categorizing. Analogy-based approaches are when students learn how to decode words they do not know by using words or word parts that they do know. Embedded phonics occurs through authentic and meaningful reading and writing, and are more on the spot.
These 9 steps are meant to provide a deep construct to improve fluency. Number 1 is building the graphophonemic foundations for fluency, including phonological awareness, letter familiarity, and phonics. Number 2 is building and extending vocabulary and oral language skills. Number 3 is providing expert instruction and practice in the recognition of high-frequency vocabulary. These are words that we see over and over in a typical day. A word wall is a good tool to use for these. Students can see and have access to it throughout the day. Number 4, teaching common word parts and spelling patterns. These are combinations of letters that can be commonly found and practiced. Sometimes this is called word families. For example, if a student can read and write night, then they should be able to read and write light, fight, sight, tight, etc.
Step 5. Teaching, modeling, and providing practice in the application of a decoding strategy. A teacher needs to purposely make mistakes in their read-alouds and model approaches to fixing those mistakes, and what to do if you come to a word and have no idea what it is. Step 6 is using appropriate text to coach strategic behaviors and to build reading speeds. Students should read from just right books on their personal levels. Step 7 is using repeated reading procedures as an intervention approach for struggling readers. Step 8 is extending the growing fluency through wide independent reading. Students should be given the chance to read and read a lot to practice these strategies on their own. Step 9 is monitoring fluency development through appropriate assessment procedures.
Phonics, decoding, and fluency all work together. In order to read fluently, a person needs to be able to use skills to figure out unknown words. If a student has to spend a lot of time figuring out words, they will not be able to read quickly and accurately.
Phonics and decoding skills allow a student to have strategies to use when arriving to an unknown word. These are skills that can allow them to feel independent and successful. An example of a decoding skill would be chunking. Chunking is when a student looks for chunks of words they know and then put these chunks together to form the word.
In 2004, roughly 8 million adolescents struggled with reading. That's about 70% of students grades 4 through 12 either could not read at grade level or really struggled. That is a staggering amount. Generative vocabulary instruction is a way to help these students. This teaches students the Greek or Latin prefixes, suffixes, and roots of words. About 70% of the English words are based off these Greek and Latin roots.
For example, in a high school American history class, the word confederacy is going to come up. By learning that con means with or together, the students can understand that the Confederacy was an alliance of southern states that left the Union and banded together. Other words that begin with con can be deduced in the same way. This strategy is great to give students a more in-depth understanding of vocabulary and will begin to transfer across content areas.
There are 4 steps to this process. Number 1 is identify a list of vocabulary terms for upcoming units of study. Number 2 is to identify high utility prefixes, suffixes, or roots in the content vocabulary. Number 3, to generate and evaluate the derived words from the prefix, suffix, and roots. And number 4 is decide on 1 or 2 terms that will provide the students with several more high-quality words to teach them how words work.
There are 5 guidelines to consider when deciding if a program is needed. The teacher should play a main role in both assessment and instruction. The intervention should also reflect a comprehensive approach to reading and writing. Reading and writing in a program should be engaging. Intervention should be driven by useful and relevant assessments and data. The intervention should include significant opportunities for authentic reading and writing.
When dealing with literacy problems, it can be difficult with all involved, especially when it has to do with adolescents. Teachers might think that these students are old enough to know how to read, so they are just being difficult. Students can feel like they aren't good enough because of the difficult time they are still having with reading. Teachers need to understand these feelings and support students as needed.
There are 4 reading skill groups for adolescent readers. The first group is the strategic readers. This group needs fix-up strategies to aid them. A fix-up strategy would be backing up to reread when something doesn't quite make sense, or if the reader has forgotten what they have read. The second group is slow word callers. These students need to be engaged with vocabulary at their reading level to increase understanding and text rate.
The third group is where many English language learners belong. It is called automatic word callers. Many students in this group can read a lot of words and read them quickly. However, they lack in comprehension because they don't know what the words mean. The fourth group is rapid readers. These students read quickly, but it prohibits them from understanding the text.
There are tons of great websites and technology aids to supplement reading and writing. A great website in the area of phonemic awareness is readwritethink.org. This website is full of activities for different grade levels. If phonics skills are needed, the BBC Schools website is great. It is a systematic program for phonics. Teaching Heart is a website for readers' theater that will help with fluency.
Vocabulary.com is great for multiple types of vocabulary exposure. Finally, Book Adventure is a motivating reading program that encourages independent reading. This is just a few of many online resources. We suggest reading the article, 25 Best Internet Sources for Teaching Reading by Leah Wasburn-Moses to see her entire list.
Phonics, decoding, and fluency are all part of a good literacy experience, no matter what grade level. All students can benefit from skills in these areas. It is important to integrate these skills in all subjects so students can build and use their prior knowledge. The more modeling a student sees, the better their understanding. The better their understanding, the more comfortable they will be trying out on their own, which will make them feel more successful.
Student success should be every teacher's #1 priority. It is important to find out district expectations, learn how to read and use data, and find a curriculum that works best for student needs. In our opinion, we find that a combination of phonics and word decoding is the best option. We also believe that these are important for students to learn by watching their teacher use the skills and be able to practice their skills through authentic, just right for their level text throughout the day. The more practice they can have, the better they will be at it.
Please check out our list of references to see the many great journal articles for which we got our information from. Also, a special thank you to Ben Sound Music for providing us with royalty-free music used in this podcast.